Hello there, it's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee, and today, pumpkins, because it's Halloween month. Okay, so what we're going to need is a piece of green felt, and it is quite small, it's only for the leaves. If you have some brown felt as well, we could make a stalk. I don't, I'll find something. Lining. Now this is 7 inches by about 3 inches, and some ribbon. Now, yeah, this is quite a test to your sewing skills, so maybe thicker, better, but I've just gone for the thin stuff because, well, it's fine. I've got my machine set up on quite a small stitch, you know, not painfully small, and I also have a needle and thread ready for hand sewing. I'm going to place my satin and my ribbon literally under the needle. So you can see why I'm saying that bigger is better. I'm not going to cut my ribbon because it will just waste ribbon, and it'll be harder to actually sew because I'm not holding the satin, I'm holding the end of the ribbon. So when I get to the end, I'm going to cut it off. And I'm going to, now I'm going to say random, but that's about 1.5 inches. You do need quite a few stripes, so, and then place it under the needle and start sewing. Now ideally you want to keep your ribbon sewn, but if it's a little bit wonky, that's okay, because pumpkins are a little bit wobbly, aren't they? So, yeah, I'm just going to keep doing this, really. And, you know, I think at least 5. At least 5. So, there we go. And I'm just steering it so that if I do go to the side of the ribbon, then I can put it back on. Okay, so I'm just going to do that and then I'll be right back with you. Hi, so I've sewn on my ribbons and they're all stitched in, you know, and that's great. I've trimmed the edges of the thread, and yeah, I'm satisfied because I know I've wasted none of the actual ribbon, because yeah, it's just like, okay, I could have done it so precise it would only be a couple of millimetres that I'd have wasted, but because I've done it that way, I've wasted none. Okay, well, all I'm doing here is a really long tacking stitch, so I'm literally folding the fabric over my needle. I'm going to pull it to, I've got a knot at the end, and away I go. So, and they're quite long stitches, they're a good ½ inch each time. Now I'm going to pull this together so it's completely pulled. Now my thread is still sewn on, and I'm going to wrap it round. I think that was 4 times, but if you'd have asked me before I would have said 3. And then I'm just going to pull the thread through a couple of times just to keep it all secure, because we want that sort of bulbous at the top. Yeah? Okay, I can take the thread off and re-knot it to do the bottom. So let's just slide that down slightly, and then I'm just going to turn it over and then literally just pull that end through the hoop. So as simple as. Now again, on the wrong side, I'm going to do my long stitch. Now I'm stuffing it with stuffing. You can use even pillow stuffing or toy stuffing. If you wanted to use this as a pin cushion as well, that would be a great thing, although I'm using it purely for decoration. then you could put in some wire wool or something like that just to give it a bit of rigidity, and then you could keep it as a pincushion, because orange is good. It's not just for Halloween. Alright, so I folded it through again, 1/2 inch tacking stitches, and pulled it tight into one ball. I'm going to just put it around the other side, that was my bad, and then I'm going to wrap it round again 4 times, and then I'm going to push it through the centre there just a couple of times, just to keep it all nice and yummy. So that's what I'm left with, kind of like a big sweetie, an old-fashioned wrap sweetie. I'm going to turn it inside out. I'm going to leave my needle thread on there, and then I'm going to take my stuffing. Now this is specially polyfilm recycled stuffing, and it's fine, but it's grey. It was really, really grey. Okay, now if you do pop a couple of stitches or you get some really loose ends, what we can then do is just push them back in again. So let's do that, because it's just unravelling from the first knot. I know, how terrible is that? And we can sort of seal those in. Now I'm keeping a firm grip on the opening, and what I haven't done is overstuff it. Now there's a reason for this. It's because I'm going to pull down the centre in a second. So let me just re-thread this needle, because that was completely my fault. Oops. Oops. And then I'm just going to tuck in the loose ends and any untidy bits and any loose threads as well, because even though I did trim it, I can see one, I've got a paler colour in my bobbin. I know. Now this line here, I'm just literally pushing it over so that I've got the fold there, and then I'm going to sew down. And it is just a couple of stitches. All I'm doing is picking up the corners, and then if I pull it tight, this thread will then disappear under the seam. So they call it invisible stitching when you do it like this. So just a tiny bit of fabric. I'm going to say 1/2 millimetre, I know, swapping over from metric from imperial, and then around I go again. And when I come to the bottom, I'm going to tuck in any scraggly bits, because there might be some, and then I'm going to push my needle all the way through. And then I'm holding it quite tightly, really pinching it. I'm going to do the same back again. I'm kind of careful not to go through the same hole. And I think it does need another go, so I'm just going to do that because I want it to be able to hold firm. And then whichever end is the untidiest, okay, so it's completely up to you, there's no maths to this. I'm then going to sew my leaves. So I have here my piece of felt, which is 1/2 inch by probably 3 inches. I folded it in half and I'm cutting a random leaf shape. So this is what I'm left with. A very posh moustache for green people. Who knows? And I've still got my needle threaded, same piece of thread, popping it through there, and then just pick up a piece of this fabric and then put it through a couple more times. So nice and easy, very effective, and a suitable little decoration for Halloween. Okay. Now what we can do is we can then push the needle through the other side and then take off the thread halfway through. And this means that the loose ends are all kind of caught up. So I'm going to take that and then there's enough thread just to disappear. So that's what we're left with, a dinky little bulbous pumpkin. Alright, thank you so much for watching. My name's Fiona from Weekly Sewing Bee.